Daniel! Daniel, where? Oh, come on, man. Come on, you cannot be passed out already. Come on, we've got to get up. Alexander's brought some wine. Let's go. Come on. Yeah, you good? Do you remember where you are? We're at the castle. Brennenburg. Alexander. Invited. Yeah, come on, for the party. Yeah, let's go. Oh, it's a very big place, isn't it? Don't look at me, I'm not going in there. And also, first off, spoiler warnings. I'm going to cover some plot points for this game, but not everything. That's the job of a much different and probably, frankly, much better video. If you intend on playing Amnesia, The Dark Descent, I thoroughly suggest you do it instead of watching this video. I'm going to cover what I love about the game and what I may or may not dislike about the game. But I recall playing this game when I was really young, and every time that door swung open, I would just quit. So we're not going to do that today, but don't get me wrong, I kind of want to. It's scary.
Don't forget, some things mustn't be forgotten. The shadow hunting me. I must hurry. My name is Daniel. I live in London at Mayfair. What have I done? This is crazy. Don't forget. Don't forget. I must stop him. Focus. My name is... I am Daniel.
You, the player, are Daniel, and you wake up with amnesia. You are in a dark corridor within a vast and deep castle called Brennenburg. Throughout your first steps into this nightmare factory, you are given some exposition and a little bit of internal dialogue through some flashbacks as to why you could be there. As you push deeper throughout the castle, you begin to experience the atmosphere and what it does to you. And Daniel is terrified. You see, he's got this thing called nyctophobia, a fear of the dark. The way you can tell is by looking at your screen at any given moment, unless you're in sunlight, you're practically having a meltdown.
It's close now.
As you move throughout the castle, your memories have faded, but you've been left with one single goal: to kill Baron Alexander, also known as Demon, and a piece of shit. Alexander isn't your typical villain. He's ancient, very polite and cultured, and he has an amazing voice.
Alexander, is it inside the castle?
The inner sanctum, my most precious chamber, Daniel. And it lies well beyond the refinery. It lies beneath the very stone of Brennenburg.
Your single most important goal right now is flinging stuff around the place. The physics in this game, from way back in 2010, are interesting. This system was honestly pretty ahead for its time, and you can do fun things like throw boxes around and smash bottles, and you can simulate what it would be like if your parents never got divorced. So boxes, chairs, barrels, books, drawers, almost anything you can find on the ground can be picked up and tossed around. There's no real reason for you to be able to do all of this, but you can use it to distract the monsters, which is nice. And it's really good, the fact that you can do it at all. And a funny thing about this too is that if you hold up something big enough in front of your face, the monsters in this game just can't see you. So like, Amnesia is truly the Metal Gear Solid of horror games. So, Daniel, reading the notes Daniel gave to himself, Daniel wants Daniel to murder Alexander so Daniel can get revenge. And you set off to do exactly that after first trying the front door. Through these diary entries and hallucinations of the past, you will attempt to continue on through the castle to kill Alexander. However, you are stopped by this red goop that haunts you and hurts you. You are being chased by something called the Shadow. There's a reason that I'm mentioning both of these things at the same time. So you have to search around for clues and get past and to move on. Amnesia is a game built around hub worlds. It's essentially like a terrifying game of Mario 64. You traverse through some corridors, come to a hub, enter rooms like levels and other sections to figure out puzzles to help you progress. I'm not going to go over all the puzzles in the game because no, but this area functions as a sort of tutorial for the rest of the game. And here is where you'll meet one of the things that is haunting you. This fella, with the nice bum. He's called a grunt and a gatherer. And throughout the game, you'll be seeing these more and more often. But for now, this dude's a hallucination. So once you're all puzzled out, you'll make your way back to the main entrance, and pot of acid in hand, you can throw it onto the red webs blocking your way forward, and then you can move on. But before we do all of this, let's bring you up to speed. Now, this is briefly, mind you. Daniel, or Donnie as I like to refer to anybody named Daniel, is a British archaeologist who was called to Brennenburg Castle by Alexander. Because after being stuck in a collapsed tomb, he excavated a mysterious orb object in an expedition to Algeria, and he was subsequently sent back to England by the expedition leader Herbert. This orb changes color, and its pieces, which broke, can change shape for some unknown reason. A while after being back in England, Daniel finds out that the entire expedition just disappeared, but the camp looked like it had been attacked. Daniel figures out how to put the orb back together because he dreamt of it. Genius. I'm gonna skip over a lot here, but basically Donnie spoke to some bloke who told him the orb had like a bunch of historical relevance to some cults and shit, and then basically everybody who had any contact with the orb ended up dead due to its fucking aura. And the shadow that follows it. Anyway, Donnie ended up writing to everyone who he could and ended up with Alexander, who then told him to come over for a party at his house. And among other things, Donnie was being chased by this shadow. He developed insomnia, nightmares, went to a doctor for it. The doctor died. You get the gist of where this is going. So Daniel fled to Castle Brennenburg, where he was mesmerized by Alexander's wit and his servants. And Daniel wanted to get rid of the orb, but you know, Alex was like, nah man, it'll get ya. And Daniel was like, yeah, no worries. So Donnie was beginning to like Baron Alexander. They did a ritual to banish the shadow, which manifested around them. Then they covered the orb to stop it. And the two besties got a warding ritual ready to keep the shadow from coming in. And Alexander brought in a criminal murderer and then told Daniel that killing him would provide time. And so Daniel, the player, you, me, we did. How fucking ever. We've now come to the adrenaline dump room. Doesn't look like much, yeah? Now we're cooking. In water. Okay, the water level. Honestly, in my opinion, one of the most memorable moments in Amnesia because it happens so early on in the game. You cannot see the demon in the water, but you can hear it and it can hear you. You'll need to set off a lever to escape, but it's timed and you'll be chased by the monster known as the King Kronk. If you get past this and load into the next area, you've now got a mad dash to the exit. And I tell you what, man, this is some heart-pounding bullshit. This part is so memorable, I believe, because it catches you unaware and completely unprepared for this kind of interaction. You know, ever since playing this back when I was younger, water levels in almost any game remotely scary at all freak me out to no end. And this section right here, in terms of scare factor, goes in S tier. Yeah, that's right, we're doing a tier list. This is a tier list video. We're gonna be ranking the scariest in Amnesia. Oh no, I'm just f***ing with it. So just before we clear this section, there's a moment here where you've got to throw meat to distract the Invisimonster. And you jump in the water to turn a wheel and open the gate. I hate this. I hate it, and I hate it. So I rummage around and grab some boxes to stand on so I can turn this wheel and don't alert the little fella. Genius. So, you know, once you've shat yourself and cleaned up using the water you're standing in, you'll come to my personal favorite place in the game, the back hall. It's another hub area. Upon entering here, a door will swing open, telling you to do some investigating. And once you do, you'll find an elevator and relive a memory of Daniel's first encounter with this wild new machine. And it's now your job to fix it.
have an ascending room. Will it take us to the inner sanctum?
It will definitely take care of the vertical part of our journey. So, you have ridden an elevator before?
Yes, the Colosseum at Regent's Park has one. It takes you to the gallery where you can view the panorama.
Good. This ride might be a little longer, and in the other direction.
This section of the game is honestly nice, peaceful, calming, you know. You wonder what could possibly undercut this serene pause in the terror. Daniel wrote a memento in his journal for this room. It reads, "The darkness in the storage feels strange and unnatural." Yeah, cheers. That's like helpful as. Your first real test, I would say, is in this section because the darkness here is oppressive. Disembodied echoes of dark deeds linger here.
Let me go.
And whether they are parts of your own mind seeping through or part of a larger shadow drawing ever closer, at the moment you have no idea. But, you know, you press on to complete the puzzle, you create a concoction to blow up the boulder that's in your way, and you pass on, and as you get deeper, the more the flashbacks hit you.
Why are you doing this? Get away from me. Oh, goodness, please. I beg you.
What happened here in this storage room, what happened to Daniel, crippled him. There is a good reason you forgot what happened here. And as you begin to flee the storage room, the mangled gatherers are out to get you. So lay low and you'll make it through. So as of right now, there's a mechanic I've neglected to mention, which is sanity. Daniel's sanity is the biggest factor in making it through the game or not. At least whether you're on easy mode or hard mode, there's a big difference here. But to sum it up, Daniel's afraid of the dark. Coincidentally, the dark is chasing him. So unlike my reasoning for being afraid of the dark, Daniel has a legitimate excuse. The monsters will drain your sanity, darkness will drain it, disturbing things like rooms full of corpses will drain it. The only way to restore your sanity is to make progress and solve puzzles or stand in the light, but it gets you to about half doing that way. The light just won't fix everything. Different severities of sanity drain do a variety of things, from warping your vision, to cockroaches climbing all over your face, to voices from your past lingering and haunting you, to actual physical things changing, like paintings and dead bodies being places that they weren't before. And if it gets too bad, you'll fall to the ground, which will kill you in hardcore mode, while staying alive in normal mode, yet alerting any monsters nearby to your terrible mental state. So, like, don't be a coward. Heading back into the hub, you'll end up in Daniel's room. Something has torn this place apart looking for an item. You'll eventually find it and also get pretty scared and have to hide. But you'll be fine. Then you'll end up in the study. Important information is here in this place. A document reads, "After a short study, it is clear the agitation found among humans can be found in the dog. Fear and pain induce stress, which trigger an endogenous response, causing the animal to burst with energy. I believe the catalyst is produced in the brain. It reeks of cosmic genesis. There is an inherent problem in harvesting this energy. Since the creature is bound to die from the exercise, I must refine this process of torture. But it seems only human beings are able to produce the amount necessary. It might be their ability to appreciate the severity of the process that augments their experience of terror. Alexander is torturing humans and animals for something called vitae, or vitae, which will help him return somewhere. Now, at risk of this becoming a walkthrough, I'm going to be skipping some things for the story. Some very, very important bits for the sake of time. But to summarize, Alexander of Brennenburg is not from this world. Likely not from this dimension. He is, in fact, a piece of shit. He brings what he convinces Daniel are criminals in order to torture them for their essence, which will help him create a portal to return home using the help of an orb. Daniel helps Alexander torture these criminals. He then ends up realizing he's torturing innocents, and he still goes along with it. However, in a self-preservation madness mind state, he continues murdering so that he can survive. Which brings us and Daniel back here. For a moment, the mask slips. In the process of torturing an entire family, one of the daughters escapes with the help of her mother. Daniel interrogates, murders the mother, and tracks down the fleeing woman, Elise. Fearful she would escape before the warding ritual to push back the shadow can complete, us, you, me, Daniel, we stab Elise to death in the storage room. This process snaps something inside of Daniel. He's killed an innocent again solely to protect himself. This fills him with guilt and disgust, and his mental state deteriorates. Because of this, Alexander locks himself in the inner sanctum of the castle, deep in its dungeons, and leaves Daniel abandoned to the shadow. And Daniel flies into a fit of rage. Unable to cope with what he has done, he brews and takes the amnesia potion, which was used to have torture victims forget their torture so they can be tortured again. He takes it for himself and swears revenge on Alexander of Brennenburg.
19th of August, 1839. I wish I could ask how much you remember. I don't know if there will be anything left after I consume this drink. Don't be afraid, Daniel. I can't tell you why, but know this. I choose to forget. Try to find comfort and strength in that fact. There is a purpose. You are my final effort to put things right. God willing, the name Alexander of Brennenburg still invokes bitter anger in you. If not, this will sound horrible. Go to the inner sanctum, find Alexander, and kill him. His body is old and weak, and yours, young and strong. He will be no match for you. One last thing. A shadow is following you. It's a living nightmare, breaking down reality. I have tried everything, and there is no way to fight back. You need to escape it as long as you can. Redeem us both, Daniel. Descend into the darkness where Alexander waits and murder him. Your former self, Daniel.
Alright, so as far as themes, gameplay, and mechanics go, Amnesia: The Dark Descent has some intense and interesting underlying discourse for them. So let's talk about... Now, I don't want to cover this lightly, but for the sake of ruining the algorithm for my second ever video, I will skim over a lot of this. However, there's some pretty specific methods of torture in this game that are explicitly stated and shown to you. Amnesia pulls a lot of this from real history. So some of these items you will find have been used on real people in real life. Please keep that in mind. And Daniel used many terrible torture devices on innocents to instill fear and extract this essence, vitae, that Alexander was after. The Iron Maiden, probably the most recognizable. The brazen bull, mainly used to send the cries through pipes.
No, please.
The wheel, the strappado, the saw, the Judas cradle. Feel free to look these up in your own time. However, I definitely recommend you don't. But knowing more about the history of them can help you understand the gravity of some of the themes of this game. And touching any of these in-game will trigger a flashback and audio of Daniel torturing someone. At this point in the game, after going through all of the trials, collecting all the notes, and going through all of the puzzles and finding and, hiding from all of the monsters and crouching your way through endless corridors, you should understand that Daniel is basically also the villain. This game has been building up to these chambers, so sit and take them in. Understand the full depth to which your character has delved and how detached from it Daniel needed to become in order to come back here and seek revenge on Alexander, who the game, we and Daniel consider to be worse than us. Now, on to Brennenburg, the castle, is built in the Gothic style of architecture, which lends to the game's theme and tone very well. There's something just terrifying about these hallways. The stonework, the columns, candlelit environments, the state of decay it is in and the horror which lurks seemingly around every corner. I love the fact that hiding from these monsters is truly the only way you can survive. You, for a bit, can outrun them, some you can't, and hiding in corners, sometimes even in plain sight, as long as you're in the dark, it can work wonders. Also, I just love that the developers implemented a leaning mechanic. I can imagine people playtesting the game trying to lean to the side of their computer screen, hoping to catch a glimpse of the horror as it limps away from you, which is funny because that's what I would do if they didn't implement the lean mechanic. So the fact that you can do that, I think, is pretty funny. The atmosphere, along with the music, lends to an oppressive feeling throughout the whole castle, and it is only lifted when you make progress and restore your sanity. The monsters patrol some areas, but they're not always around. But that almost doesn't matter because your internal fear of exploring to run into these things can prevent you from making progress. The more you explore, the worse it gets, and the harder it becomes to find peace in those little moments between the horrors, and you only get to really relax in the hub levels briefly before, yes, even they get turned into a hellscape. Speaking of hellscape, let's talk about the shadow and monsters. Now, I'm not someone who can critically analyze something very well. However, from what I can gather, the shadow chasing you is cosmic in nature, known as the Guardian of the Orb, which derives from an ancient religious cult of Mithras. And there is an entire Wikipedia page about this real-life thing that I'm just not really going to go on about. The point being is, this shadow follows the orb because the orb is powerful. Come into contact with it and it hunts you and anyone near it down. Wherever it goes, it will leave a red, fleshy substance, and touching it will hurt you. The shadow is just immense. It's cradling the entire castle. It follows you throughout Brennenburg. It will destroy everything around it. The trees outside will tremble and quake. They will fall as the earth gives way. It also serves as a way to prod you forward and prevent you from getting too lost, finding your way throughout the castle, trying to dodge monsters, completing puzzles and then returning to the same areas. It just pushes you forward, which is a really cool mechanic. And the monsters, these gatherers, are servants of Alexander, twisted by him. And to paraphrase a quote from one of the game's main designers, these servants were beings from beyond, summoned into the bodies of humans, deforming the host into a body they can control, shattering bones, tearing flesh, and producing cancer-like growths. They are your main enemy, at least the one you will encounter. And the sounds you hear when they are around still sends shivers down my spine to this day. Let's talk about guilt and redemption. Daniel's mental state was so far gone that he could not face Alexander, the shadow, and himself all at the same time. So we had to forget. Whether or not he redeems himself in the end is up for debate, but from here, Daniel is set off on his final quest to get into the inner sanctum and kill Alexander, or let him escape, or fling Agrippa into the other world. I guess I better explain who Agrippa is. Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa is the man spared by the shadow. He looked for mysterious and powerful artifacts for years. Upon encountering the orb, was chased by its shadow, but was spared, and he was always afraid it would return. Agrippa had a student named Johann Weyer, or Weyer. According to what I can read up on, Agrippa found an orb. They managed to open a portal to the other world, but Agrippa and Weyer betrayed Alexander, and Weyer escaped. Alexander was furious. He held Agrippa at the castle as a hostage for Weyer, and as Agrippa's body slowly died over years and years, Alex kept him alive with this essence called vitae, which they extracted from the torture victims, and kept him alive within a husk of a body, right here. Weyer tried to free Agrippa with a potion, but, Alexander didn't believe him, so the free tonic provided to Alexander for Agrippa to get him out of this body, Alexander didn't trust either, but he kept the recipe, which is what we make later on in the game to help him escape. I think this is considered the good ending, due to the guilt of Daniel and for what he has done prior to taking the amnesia potion. Guilt is used extensively and without remorse. Daniel is constantly battling the effects of the amnesia drug and the mental damage from inflicting so much pain to others. It's an interesting take on the question around if the good you do now can make up for the evil you have done before. And the question remains, as you enter the final chapter of the game, can the act of killing one more time for the sake of others and to sacrifice yourself truly redeem what you have already done? Or will you enter the inner sanctum and do nothing, letting Daniel's fear take hold and Alexander escape to the other world? Now, onto the music. Probably the best part about this game is its haunting music. Nosing about the development page on the wiki, I found out that this soundtrack was made with real instrument samples and no synthesizers, which is kind of wild considering this sounds super synthesized. The game might be scary, but the music makes it terrifying. Truly, without the music in this game, I believe it would not have been as memorable as it is. Now, I don't think there's a very easy way to describe the cultural influence Amnesia, specifically the Dark Descent, has had for the gaming industry. From what I believe, this game came out at the perfect time to have the cult following it did. A massive YouTube presence where personalities would not be here and would not be the people they are today without the power of Let's Plays and what Amnesia brought to the table. It wasn't necessarily all that scary to watch, but in the era YouTube was in back then, reactive gaming videos with loud screams and crazy reactions were just, they were it. That was what you watched. And because of this, face cams became a massive thing, which to this day is still being used by massive names in the industry. I also believe the future of games would look so different without Amnesia's influence. Games like Alien Isolation, Outlast, Resident Evil, PT, rest in peace. Hell, even games made by the same company, you could argue, would look totally different, like Soma. We don't talk about A Machine for Pigs here, but you know, you cannot talk about Amnesia without mentioning that game, the rest of them, and its custom stories. And for a good fact, one of the absolute main reasons for the staying power and online significance this game had back in the day, and mind you, early YouTube was just essentially Amnesia and Minecraft. And you know, YouTube these days is pretty much just Minecraft. But like besides that, Amnesia was massive. And people made a crazy amount of amazing and god-awful custom stories for others to play. And ones for their favorite YouTuber to play, and sometimes they did. It was amazing, and the time I grew up on it, I was just a kid. I think like I was barely in high school at this point. And coming home after school to see your favorite Let's Player uploaded a 15-minute video, talking to themselves, holding statues, throwing barrels around and giving them weird voices and names. Then you go to school the next day and quote the entire video with all of your mates non-stop so the teacher kicks you out of the class. You just don't get that. Like, I mean, maybe you do, but it was such a massive thing back in the day. It was a big part of growing up back then, especially with early YouTube. What's seen as cringe now was part of the early online culture back then. Amnesia didn't have as much staying power as other games. Maybe it wasn't even as famous as Five Nights at Freddy's, or maybe that's a good thing, because we got peak horror and storytelling in fictional games as next projects like Soma. If they just kept making Amnesia the Dark Descent but slightly different, I feel as if this game would not be as fondly remembered as it is. Now, let's talk about, dear Lord, the sound design in this game is just top notch. It is going in S tier. Yeah, that's right. This is still a tier list video, baby. This is a tier list. That's a tier list. There's two things in it. Even if the game didn't look the way it did, just close your eyes and listen to the sounds. The noise tells you exactly where to look and where the monster is, why you should be going in the complete opposite direction when you hear this. For a game back in 2010, the tension this builds when you're sitting alone in the dark waiting for a monster to leave, you can feel your sanity drain moment by moment. You want to turn on your lantern, but you're afraid the noise may attract what's currently around the corner, or even the light, so you wait, and the worse these sounds become. It's nightmare fuel. I remember hearing the main menu music and just closing it down. Before, going back to YouTube to open up another YouTuber who was more brave than me to play it. Truly some of the best sound design I've ever heard in any game to date. Now, for some random thoughts, do I think the game still holds up? When I first booted it up, I noticed some lower resolution textures, but I got over it pretty quickly due to the very intense and on-purpose art style that this design has. It's not meant to be overly realistic, it's meant to invoke fear, and it does that perfectly. The storyline in this game is honestly super digestible, even if you have to spend a lot of time reading and listening to voiced notes for any sort of context. At least a majority of the notes are voiced, and speaking of, the voice acting is phenomenal. I don't think there's a single line in this game that I feel could be read better. You don't see Alexander until the very end, but his overwhelming presence is felt in every single corner of the castle. And speaking of Alexander, I just have to say that he reminds me of Dracula, and I believe this is on purpose. He lives an impossibly long time. He's hundreds of years old. He lives in a castle next to a village where he abducts innocents to experiment on for his own game. A lot of similarities, all tied up within a Lovecraftian cosmic horror theme that suits the story, the art, and the era this game came out in to a T. There was essentially nothing like it too at the time. Amnesia took all the power away from you and just said good luck, whereas other games at the time have, given you guns and ways to fight back. Amnesia just said run. And even if you don't pay attention to the story, the lore, the real history this place pulls from, twisted into the fiction of the narrative to embed this dystopian castle into our world with one foot in another, you still feel its presence. People laud this game as one of the most influential horror games of all time, right next to Silent Hill, right next to Resident Evil, all from a small Swedish studio which at the time was only known for a different game series called Penumbra. Amnesia, with its online cult-like following, gained so many accolades, and it's just an amazingly intense horror experience. And this truly showed the power a small independent studio has, and it is why to this day I will still load up and play small games from tiny studios, because you just can't know the depth of something until you dive in, especially from a small, passionate team compared to a AAA product. Of course, there's some things I don't like. The AI can turn on a dime. The puzzles are a bit One hub is basically just kind of all you really need to understand where the game's going. And the little hand grip icon that you have can slip sometimes and not grab things properly. In all honesty, I don't really think I can personally fault the game for much else. I'm not saying it's perfect, but to me specifically, it damn near might as well be. The story fell short on a proper playthrough, but I think that's mainly because I actually gave it a proper playthrough. Back when I was younger, the only time I could really get to give this game the attention it probably deserved was after high school, and then I just didn't really care much for it back then because I was too busy playing other games. However, when we were in year 9, we were given these government-funded crappy notebooks or something, and we essentially jailbroke them, put Amnesia on them, and they were the Lenovo laptops to play at 15 FPS or less, and we used the little red nipple in the middle of the laptop to look around because the trackpad didn't work when you were walking around. We both finished the game on these things. The things that, you used to put up with back in the day as a kid to try and just play the game that you wanted to play was, I wouldn't do that today. I can't even believe I did it back then. The game felt short, but because I was less terrified to play it. Also, these days, lots of single player storylines are upwards of 40 plus hours, and this was around 7 to 8 hours worth of content on an average playthrough. I didn't grab every tinderbox, I didn't grab every single note. I just played the game over a couple of weeknights to finish, and it's honestly refreshing. Considering how long some games take to complete now, it's a good experience. So for the sake of yapping, yes, you should play Amnesia. It is honestly just as scary as I remember it. I just put on a brave wig and got on through it. Just go play it. 8 hours out of the usual 2,000 you chuck at Counter-Strike or Siege or whatever for an amazing story and experience and something that makes you think. You can also play all the cool modded maps and custom stories, which I haven't even gone through. There's the official Justine expansion, which is super short. It's permadeath. You should play it after the main game. And I don't know, this game has a special place in my heart, as I don't think I would even be remotely as interested in horror as a genre now without this game. I didn't really much care for the shoot bang horror sort of action adventure games back in the day, but Amnesia just took a grip on my fear and was like, hey, you're scared, this is a good thing, play it. So In short, game's good. Get your 8-year-old cousins to play it alone by themselves. Also, I want to say thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, come back once again for another video, hopefully soon. My last video popped off in a way I could never have expected. I was thinking to myself when I was making the DayZ video that I was like, oh, I'm gonna be happy if it gets 100 views and I get like 50 subs, if that. As of recording this right now, I believe I'm at over 800 subs and it has 27,000 views. That's crazy to me. I never even expected that. I tried my best to reply, and I still do, to every comment I get. As much as I can, but like I saw so many and I just try and like them now, like, because it's like I can't, this is just too many. You know, I like as many as I can, and everyone's just so damn lovely. It's honestly pushed me to make this video and try to put the same amount of care and passion into it as my last one. And yes, I know covering Amnesia probably won't get as many views because DayZ has like a mad following and all that sort of stuff, and whoever watches this, I want to just say thanks for watching it. You know, and it was difficult to cover Amnesia because once I started talking about the lore, I knew there was no way I could satisfy everybody who loves this story in a 20 to 30 minute video. But like, thank you for watching. I hope you like, I hope you comment and subscribe and, you know, share it to someone. And thank you for leaving tidbits and feedback in my last video. I didn't get everything correct, but I tried. This is more than I could have ever hoped for, especially from my first video. So yes, I'm already working on my next one after Amnesia. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and please hold.